here we are. I'm TQ with my brother JQ talking to you, Tea Time at the Apothecary, Merz Apothecary, that is, in Lincoln, the beautiful Lincoln Square on this August afternoon, where we talk about tea, herbs, apothecary goodness, and perfume being one of our favorites. And today we have a special guest with us, Bruno Fazzolari, painter, sculptor, and perfumer, speaking to us from what appears like your lab. Am I right, Bruno?
Absolutely, my lab and my studio in my house.
Awesome. Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you.
I love those shelves. Okay, wait. First, let's discuss. We're drinking Oolong today.
Yeah, we're drinking. That was my choice. So I'm a tea nerd, and not a very in-depth tea nerd, but I like to brew Gong Fu style, which is the Chinese style where you pour many times out of the same little pot. And this is a Old Grove Lishan. I don't know exactly what that means, but I love it because of its almondy sort of apricot quality, and then also the stimulating and relaxing qualities that it has.
Yeah, it does. It has like a green, green tea and black, kind of that right? Has that that gives me a boost, but also chills me out. And
it's technically that's theanine and caffeine, and so you guys probably know all about it. But I think you get a little bit of that. And then also, to me, it tastes a little bit like when I was a kid, we used to go camping in Colorado, and we used to get water from this spring, which was nearby, and it tastes a little bit like water from a mountain spring to me. Like there's a little bit of the flavor, the way the leaves sort of flavored that water when I was a kid. Is very reminiscent of this.
Like the natural elements from the decomposing of earth, right? It's like, I don't know. I love
Well, I mean, that's the tannins. No, I'm sure it's this. There's probably something to it. It's a very like primal memory for me.
Yeah.
I was when Greta and I first got married, we went to this restaurant in Chicago called Next, and it's you have to get a ticket, and they have a theme, and they change the whole restaurant and the whole menu 4 times a year. And the one we went to was Kyoto in the fall. And they had this particular type of mushroom that you could eat that was, found foraged in Kyoto in the fall. And they put a bed of wet leaves under where you're eating so that you could smell the earth, what it smells like where they actually harvest the mushrooms. Wow. It was awesome.
That's
really
beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Bruno, do you have a favorite flush in your Oolong drinking? Because I know people talk about, you're pouring multiple flushes of the tea. And I kind of always heard that people would say like the second flush is the perfect.
I like to mix. I actually think sometimes I'll mix multiple flushes, and I find that you get a
more well.
Like 2 will give you more complexity, like the first and the second. With this one, I feel like it really starts to open on the second and the third. So actually, I'm about to pour another flush.
Cool.
I like the way the leaves open up. They start as little pearls, and then they open up into full, huge leaves. When you first put it into this pot, it looks like it's not going to take up any space.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it's just and it's foresty and very apparently it's very labor intensive.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Because each of these is hand rolled.
That's so amazing.
The price would suggest so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and what I've heard is that the price is under.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Because
and they range so incredibly. It is the nerdiest of the nerdy sections within tea as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's like going with, I don't know, like Barolo wines or something, something where they're within there's a whole nother spectrum within there.
I just want to say I'm snipped before we move on. I pulled my leaves out in my filter, and this is a filter that I've used for many years, and I drink jasmine green every day. So almost everything smells like it, but I'm smelling the the tea leaves that I pulled out of my cup, and that apricot sense is just delightful. Like I love it.
Yeah.
Like I have a taste of it as I'm drinking it, kind of have that smell taste, but smelling the leaves themselves, it's kind of remarkable for a like I think many people who drink tea.
It always,
if you go to a
each
tea
time,
store-
to me, it's very much a perfumer's tea too.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
And especially right now, because it's kind of like, the stone fruit at the grocery store is so good right now. This is just feeling like perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. High
So
season.
Bruno, go on.
No,
was-
yes, go ahead. I'm listening.
I'm just so excited to talk to you and about sort of everything that you do. But we met you through your fragrances, through your perfume work, which was an outgrowth, from my understanding, of your work as an artist. So can
Correct.
you tell me a little bit can you give us some of the background on that? Like, how does an artist, and I think you were an art professor, become a perfumer?
Well, that's a very good, I get asked that question all the time. And I've been trying to figure out how that happened. I've always been really drawn to scent, and I have a little bit of synesthesia where scent has color, and scent has always been just very powerful and motivating. And even when I was in college, I would walk to and from class through neighborhoods, deliberately choosing a path where I knew the flowers were in season and smell them on my way. And I knew which houses at which time of year
That's awesome.
But it was just something I liked to do. And gradually, there was a period of my life, actually, where things got a little tough for me, and I started getting interested in Ayurveda, which is a Indian, very ancient science of wellness. And one of the things that drew me to Ayurveda was the notion of these tastes and spices having an influence on your mental well-being,
On your dosha.
your emotional well-being, your doshas, right? And so, and I grew up in a French and Italian household, and so food was really important, and the idea that foods and tastes could be harnessed that way. So that was new to me. And I began working with spices, which also being from a French and Italian household were new to me. And then combining them, and then I started getting essential oils. I don't exactly know why, but I started collecting this little collection of essential oils. And then being an artist, I had to mess with it. I had to start doing I'd try mixing 2 lemon with 1 orange, and and then little by little, it started getting more and more complex and I kept having more and more. And there was a corner of my studio, it was a tiny corner with bottles. And then it kept getting bigger. And and then it started to look like this, but initially I just built this out of pink foam, styrofoam that I used for sculpture. And people would ask me what's going on here? And I'd be like, oh, nothing. And I was actually embarrassed. And at some point I realized I was making perfumes. And then I began to take it a little more, I don't want to say seriously, but with, I don't know, more investigation. I became involved, interested in my mom's French, also, like I said. And so French perfumery was important as a kid. And it just kept getting deeper. And so at some point I proposed putting a perfume in with some paintings that I had made as one installation, with one perfume that I'd made, which was 5, which was one of my first fragrances. And it was a really incredible moment for me. I wasn't trying to start a business or anything. And then I did that for my next 3 shows. I would do a body of work based of paintings that were responsive in color to the perfume I was working on.
Cool.
And so there was
Awesome.
Montserrat, which we'll talk about a little today, was my second one. And it was for these sort of, again, apricot-y sort of soft paintings. Then Lamp Black, which was about the smell of ink. And then Lamp Black, something caught on fire there. All these people in the fragrance underground started asking him, find out about it. I don't exactly know how. I was invited to do something. And then Luca Turin got a hold of it and gave it 4 stars. And then suddenly I had all kinds of people knocking on my door. And I had by that time started to like put things in bottles, but like literally for the first show where I did Lamp Black, I made 20 bottles of that. That was, I was just, and I didn't sell all of them either. You know, it was just like this thing.
Getting
So
Luca Turin to give you a 4-star review, that was like going viral before things really,
right.
I mean, that was like the equivalent of going viral in the niche fragrance community, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm getting my teacups confused here.
So Bruno, at what point did you, you said you started with essential oils, and then do you still use essential oils in your fragrances?
Well, I work with a mixed palette of high quality botanicals and synthetic molecules.
Cool.
And I have a whole bone to pick with that, because I think it's much more of a continuum. You don't have, if we want to have that conversation, I can have it. But so I use a mix, like, and I'll also use certain kinds of isolates or molecular distillations where it's a specific fraction. To me, though, on some level, there are times when I just think like with contemporary art or painting, sometimes you have paintings that have like fluorescent colors in it and do not look natural, and that's exciting, you know?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're working with an earthier palette, and
Definitely.
to me, it's much more expressive, but on some level, it's always based in nature. Like I've been thinking a lot about plants and our relationship to plants, and you're always sort of having some conversation about something that was natural, or that is like an idea that we have formed, like the forest floor, you know, or like, I don't know. So anyway, yet long story short, the botanical materials are really important. I feel like they add character and complexity. From my perspective, I try to build an entirely botanical perfume, it's easy for it to get muddy and not have the same clarity. And then there's certain effects that you just can't
I
get.
asked with no judgment. I mean, as a
Yeah.
musician,
Oh no, I know.
I'm not like I only use live instruments. You know, I'm an electronic musician and I make hybrid music as well. And I think use all of the tools you're given. And I think that's great.
Yeah,
And again,
exactly.
you know, weirdly, when you said that, you know, using synthesized bass and synthesized drums really gives you clarity in the same way that potentially you're expressing it about fragrance. It's really that really spoke to me. That's almost identical.
I just think it's interesting how also just how many so many synthetic molecules actually exist in nature. And so then being able to pull one, you know, like phenethyl alcohol, which is a rose material. It's why rose smells the way it does. It's one of the reasons rose smells the way it does. And it's also one of the reasons lilac smells the way it does. And like you take sort of these notes and like being able to layer them. It's like layering paint colors that are really pure. And then you can add something that has a little bit of funk in there. And then the funk actually enlivens the whole picture,
And it
you know.
smears the whole thing in a good way. Yeah.
Right.
Composition.
Yeah.
Composition.
What is what comes first, the painting or the scent, or is it a simultaneous endeavor?
Well, when I'm working on a show, it's been a while actually since I've done a show where it was a one scent and one group of paintings. The last time I did it, an exhibition called Synesthesia, and it was these small paintings, and I had an incense in the whole, I used a incense warmer, so there was no smoke, but the whole room was permeated with a scent. There I wanted to bring a kind of contemplative vibe in. But to answer your question, it really depends. I I don't work the way like, I mean, I think this is one of the things that independent perfumers bring is much more intuitive way of reaching their audience. Like the big fragrance houses will decide on a demographic. They'll narrow it down to white women who work in these kinds of jobs, who are this age to this age,
Yeah.
and I mean, people who are 24 to 26
Yeah.
have watched this kind of television show, and here's what's going to appeal to them. And backwards from that comes a scent. I work from, and I think like many independent perfumers, I have all kinds of inspirations. So like for Room 237, I watched The Shining. I'm obsessed with The Shining. I was like, I'm going to make a fragrance that smells like a perfume that should have been like a perfume that should have been in the old hotel of in that movie. But but it's going to also smell modern and creepy and actually very synthetic. I wanted it to pop out of the bottle smelling really synthetic. So, and then I was obsessed with the color green in that bathroom. With lamp black, that was technically really challenging for me. I was still learning to make fragrance, and I wanted to make something that would smell dark, but also had this transparent color in it. And then I wanted to recollect the smell of ink. And like if you've ever been in a printmaking studio, there's always a strong odor, which is a little different from even a painter's studio. And there's asphaltum, which is something that is used to cover the printing plate, and then you scrape away the asphaltum and drop it in an acid bath. And when you warm up the asphaltum, there's a specific smell. So
Is it more metallic, kind of? Yeah.
Asphaltum actually smells a lot like asphalt, like
Oh, cool.
or railroad ties. It smells a little bit like creosote or railroad ties kind of smell.
Gotcha.
Should
I
we
know we
smell
weren't
something?
talking about it, but I sprayed lamp black because I had a feeling it might come up given the history. And I love this fragrance, by the way. But
I don't have that one with me,
I know,
but
Jay, you don't have it, but it's, oh.
I
so
do
good.
have Montserrat.
Here's the lamp black.
What
This
color?
one's still, yeah.
I'm curious,
What's
when
that?
you talk about the synesthesia, it's so fascinating to me. And I feel like I don't think I have synesthesia, but I definitely get sometimes a little sensation of a color when I'm smelling something that has no relation to a name or anything else like that. I just sort of feel it. But I'm wondering for you, like when you said I want to bring transparent color to it, what is the color that you were bringing
Well,
to it? Or
there's this, I wanted it to smell dark, almost black, but then the paintings I did were these, I used this one dark India ink, and then I used these transparent colorful inks, and these were on found paper. And so there were these like really bright sort of magentas and like aqua sort of blues, and deep yellow, but very transparent like watercolor, and then this black. And so there was this interplay of almost kind of like stained glass. That was the thought behind that.
That's great.
And that was the feeling. But I think we all have a kind of synesthesia, and like perfumers in classical training, you are Edmund Runitska, who did all the great Dior fragrances, would talk about the olfactory shape. And you try to think of the perfume as having a shape, and it does have a shape. Like each perfume has a different formal feeling to it, you know, like vast or thin or pointy, or, you know, within that there's color.
That's cool. That's really cool.
I would love to be able to unlock that side of my brain. I feel like I'm locked up with the color thing. I'm just such an auditory person. It's hard for me to visually, from a scent, take a color in. But I do believe that you're right. We all kind of have it to some extent, and some people that channel's open. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wonder if there's a way to train or to unlock it. You know?
Well, there's a neurological condition called synesthesia that some people just have it. I think though that if you ever spend time meditating, like really dedicate time to meditation practice, when your mind gets really peaceful, it all gets much more fluid, and like ideas suddenly have flavor, and like it I just think that I think of our senses as this continuum of vibrations, and like some of those vibrations are touch, they're very coarse, and some of them are very, very fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I've heard psychedelic drugs certainly bring out some of that for some people, right?
They absolutely,
So
yeah.
I think that's one path, but most people I know who have either had that or the desire to want to have it more often, meditation seems to be the thing that people, it's like everyone kind of turns and says, like, if you want to achieve states like that more often in your life, meditation is the best path. I don't know.
That's one path. I think that there are plant medicines. You can go to Peru.
Yeah,
For sure.
Agreed. Yeah. Can we smell Montserrat?
So
Yes,
Montserrat is a very apropos because of the tea. And then I have my little box, and this actually, I'll show something off here because
your boxes are gorgeous, by the way. First of all, I mean, the bottles, I'm kind of holding it up. The design, what you've done is just, they're so attractive, I have to say.
thank you so much. That was actually a journey for me. So the box has a pattern of color, which I feel reflects some of what this fragrance smells and looks like. The packaging is a very organic development for me. I wanted to bring the visual into the, like this actually took maybe 3 iterations to get to this point, where there was like a complete experience for the. So Montserrat has a osmanthus note, and osmanthus is used to sometimes to fragrance oolong tea. Osmanthus is a flowering tree, and the flower smells a lot like apricot.
Yeah, this is awesome.
The botanical material actually can smell a little bit offensive. Like the osmanthus absolute smells like apricot, and also a little bit like horse poop.
Like dung.
Yeah, and like and a little bit like leather. So with these materials, when you dilute them, when you have them really in dilution, that's when you get their clarity and the fruitiness, and like, but straight out of the bottle, it's like, ooh, whoa, I don't know about that. But here you get this beautiful, and this is an example of where a pretty powerful and intense botanical material illuminates this this is a very modern accord. That smells, very contemporary and modern, but then the natural osmanthus in there is giving it this like complexity and realness and like grounded character.
Yeah, can for a lot of people who might be watching or watch this later who don't know fragrance well, when you talk about an accord, you're talking about sort of a mixture of how these different elements play together, correct?
Right. Well, an accord, it's very much like music, where you have a note and then you have a chord. I mean, the word accord is A-C-C-O-R-D, and it means, it's from the French word, which means to get along.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's entirely related to the word chord, C-H-O-R-D. But when you combine 2 or 3 notes, an accord could just be 2 notes, it could be 3, it could be 9. They become more than the sum of their parts.
Yeah.
And they have a character where together they don't smell like something else. One of the ones that fascinates me the most is the Shipra Accord, which is an oak moss, bergamot, and labdanum, and then usually adding flowers. And it's an abstract composition that is used in so many fragrances and gets modified in all these different ways. So anyway, this accord, I think, is a very, the basic structure of it, it still smells very modern, familiar, very accessible. I think this, like Montserrat, is one of my most popular summer crowd pleaser scents.
It's great and it's evolving nicely too. I got a lot of that apricot at the beginning, and then I was smelling. It was sort of turning summer grassy for a
Right.
while, and then and now I'm getting like really beautiful florals at the end here, which are just lovely, but not thick. You know,
Yeah, there's a bit of grapefruit in there too.
Yeah.
that explains why I love it too. Yeah.
And it's well, so this was for an exhibition of paintings that were very, very minimal, uh, kind of inspired by fresco, Italian fresco, where you have these soft colors that have sort of
Mm.
soaked into the plaster. And there's also a little bit of what I call a wet plaster note, like a
Yeah.
kind of almost a dusty, not quite powdery, but a
Yeah.
dusty gypsum plaster.
Yeah. I love
But
that.
like, yeah,
Hey,
when
Bruno,
you're
is
in a
this
house that's just been plastered, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah. For
is
sure.
this is this what I'm trying to remember when my wife Rachel and I, we go to Palm Springs all the time because our parents spend the winters there. And I walked into Palm Springs as we were literally considering bringing in your line. I was on vacation. I like walked in and was like saw this cool exhibit, and then I was like, "You're supposed to spray this scent," and I wasn't it this? Am I
No,
right?
it was unsettled.
Unsettled. That's right. I'm sorry.
No,
Now
it's
I
all right.
remember. Yeah,
But
but
it,
I
also
thought
a
that
very
was
fresh one.
yeah, and it was also just one of those cool uh, just
So
great
many, so many
coincidence.
people discovered my line through that show who I think probably never would have discovered fragrance. I mean, one of the things I really like about being in between these two different kinds of being a perfumer and being a painter is I'm reaching people in the fragrance world who might not really connect with contemporary art,
Yeah,
and the reverse, people in contemporary art who might have thought that they weren't interested in fragrance at all. And I love mixing that kind of stuff up. That's very exciting to me.
I'm in the overlap of the two because
Yeah.
I'm a huge art fan and also just fragrances. I built a
As
store.
someone who makes hip hop Shakespeare, I can relate.
All right.
We always talk about it. It's like stop pretending that your passions aren't your passion and that you have to be one thing. Because if you're two things, you are that passionate about it, you're likely to be the best at that. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was definitely part of what has been exciting for me about this journey was sort of becoming more whole rather than being split up, and there's a whole lot of my biography in here just because my my mother had a cooking school, so I was raised with foods and tastes and all these and then going to France and the culture of smelling and tasting there and
And you have
being
one
able
of
to
the
bring.
coolest names of all time. Can I say it? Like, as a wannabe Italian, Bruno
Yeah.
Fazzolari. It's like I'm
Yeah,
jealous.
like
I
I'm
got
definitely gonna stop and smell.
it.
Uh,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
no,
No, not at all.
should we smell another? Let's do
yeah.
it.
Please.
What do you guys have there?
I have
Uh,
Zdravitz,
Okay,
which
this
I know this word
do you
from the
so
store because we have a bunch of former Yugoslavian in the that come into the store and ask for various chais, various herbs. And for a while I was working in the front of the store about 12 years ago, they were obsessed with this herb. It got written up somewhere,
right?
and we couldn't find it. And I went on a mission to find it and got it. And me and Lori brought this into the store, and I'm telling you, the Serbo-Croatians and the Bosnians went crazy for this herb and this tincture, and it's called crane's bill, right?
I didn't know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the word for crane's bill, and it's a plant that in that country or those countries now they use it for anti-cancer properties. That's how
Well,
they
it's
it got
which is
written up
yeah.
from some herbalist, some famous folk, herbalist in their language, and they kept coming in and asking for it all the time.
I know it from, well, this is like you asked what comes first. this is a material that has been on my shelf for years. It's a geranium. It's in the geranium family. It's
Yeah,
a mountain herb,
Yep.
very tiny. And it has a rosy quality and a geranium quality. It's quite expensive. The production of it is inconsistent, so it's not likely to find its way into a mainstream perfume, because one year it might be produced enough and the next year it might not.
Yeah.
I kept trying to figure out what to do with it, and I know it as I learned a little more about its Bulgarian history, and actually when I launched it, this Bulgarian woman came to my opening, and she was the friend of a friend, and she was like obsessed, like you were just saying, obsessed with the scent. And I had read that Bulgarians give it to each other as housewarming gifts because it's symbolic of health, and the word means health, translates in Bulgarian as health.
That's awesome.
And I had read all that stuff, and I was like, that's probably BS. It's probably not true. And I was asking her, and she's like, no, it's true. We give it to each other all the time. Everybody usually has a little plant in their house. Like, and she was like, it really is like, it's a very meaningful part of our culture, you know? And so this goes back to the,
I was about to say this, but it's funny because I was going to say we have Bulgarians on our little chat that we have to keep on top of what's going on while we're talking. Is that Diana, who's on our team, runs accounting for us, is right now she's listening and she's very excited about zdravets. She said it is the word for a particular type of geranium in Bulgaria, and when you crush it between your hands, it has an amazing smell. So we have a couple of Bulgarians on our team, and I know that they're both going to be excited about this.
So this one smells. I design everything for skin. This one smells much better on skin than on paper. It smells good here, but and then it has a kind of radiance that lasts all day. That I love this one. My partner wears it, and I'm like, "What are you wearing?" And then I'm like, "Oh, right,
I made this."
And it's great for summer. It has this sparkle. It's my kind of answer to a rose scent. There's a bit of leather, and I wanted something. I mean, you know, so this actually I launched this last fall, even before the pandemic. I felt like we were in dark times, and I wanted something really optimistic and bright and bold and confident, and that was sort of the spirit of where this came from. And it's a great summertime scent. It's not a citrus, you know, like, because I think most fresh scents are citrus, and this is not. It has also sort of powdery softness, and there's a heavy dose of vanilla in there, which gives it an underlying sweetness too.
There's also like
so well balanced in that.
There's also like you know, like film, like camera film. I smell a little.
Oh yeah, like when you open
the roll,
the film canister. Yeah.
It smells a little like that. And I gotta say, you mentioned like leather and rose-ish type qualities, but it stays on the cool side, which you would not imagine from those notes being said. So I just want people out there to know that despite having all those things, that's true. To me, it's very cool and like blue, and like now I am unlocking it, but I'm getting like a cooler breeze on a summer day.
Yeah, there are some other secret botanicals that give it that sort of really
refreshing.
Exactly the cool blue herbal sort of quality.
This is really special, man.
Yeah, I put it on. You should spray it on your arm, because I agree it smells even better on skin.
I'm going to.
I've been putting it on, and I will say that I'm interested. It's been a while since I've worn it. I wore it last fall when it came out, but I just haven't put it on in a while. But I really value when people can bring in vanilla and those kind of warmer notes without having them dominate, because I don't love vanilla and those like overly sweet things on myself. But I feel like sometimes if I avoid them completely, you end up sort of feeling like I'm in a box fragrance wise, like I don't touch that. And this one has that. I think it's the rose geranium sort of nature of it. I don't know, it goes to a place that I don't have a lot that I wear that smells like this, but I love it on me. So anyway,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm very proud of this one.
yeah, you should be. That's cool. So speaking of which, I know you're working on some new projects, I guess, both in the art world and in the fragrance, other aspects of what you do. Tell us about what you've been working on.
Well, apparently a little bird told me that we're both doing something similar. I'm working on soaps. And this has been a project that it's probably 2 years in development. I love soap. I love a bar of soap. I understand some people like body wash, but I don't think that's
They're wrong. That's
like
what
the
you
way
can
that
just say.
that whole experience.
Yeah, yeah. So they're wrong. You can just say it. It's okay.
They're wrong. Yeah, I know. And these will be launching in, knock on wood, October. Here's my crazy huge bar. I don't know if you can see it.
Nice.
It's really massive. It's almost a half a pound of soap.
Wow.
Fragranced. There'll be maybe 6 of them. Here's some. These are evaluations. But these are just for color and scent. This one, for instance, is a lilac. Lilac, and sort of has a little bit of a gourmand note to it. So I've been calling it a lilac cream pie. But it's
so not like in line with your fragrance. They're not just soap versions of your.
No, I don't. I actually don't think that's right.
Good.
Like I think that
create for the medium.
Perfume. I actually think that perfume should be really special, and it shouldn't just be like. I don't like to see it like repeated in like a room spray and I think a perfume is almost like a sacred thing. And I mean, I think soap is too, but I also want the concept is a little more simple and straightforward. So there'll be like this one is a fantastic woody, anybody who likes really woody scents will like this, but it's like a honey cedar. So there's the floral honey notes in there, and then nice. The cedary and also a little tobacco. It's a good bit of spice. The lather formulation I've worked a lot on. So I go to France quite a bit still because of my family, and there are artisanal soap production. There's artisanal soap production there, particularly in the Loire Valley, that I'm obsessed with. And the way this soap makes your skin feel, that how gentle it is on the skin is like unlike.
So are your soaps also triple milled and according to
No,
that?
so these are not. I'm interested. So these are more in the Marseille style, which is not a triple milled.
Yeah,
a little more rustic.
It's a hot process. These are these will all be artisanally made here, with the soaps have olive oil, apricot kernel oil, shea butter. All the people that I've been sort of focus testing these on are like, I can't believe how non-drying they are, but they don't feel filmy.
Awesome.
So my idea is, especially now, I think with COVID, but this was even before, these moments we have in the shower with like something special. Like, I think the feeling of bringing something special to your body matters so much. And even just having a quick little fragrance. I mean, one of the things that's awesome about soap is you don't need to smell like that for the rest of the day. So if maybe you're not comfortable wearing a gardenia scent, but you love the smell of gardenia, you can have gardenia soap in your shower and just have your moment, and that I'm
so glad we're recording this, because you're saying like your past 2 minutes of speaking have like encapsulated almost everything I think about soap and fragrance and like what I love. So thank you. That's great.
That's a lot to me. Well, you're working on a shampoo bar?
Yeah, ours is a little different. Let me just first of all say we are soap.
Am I allowed to say that? Was that okay?
Yeah, it's out. But in fact, I'm suggesting, because I really want to try your soaps, can we be beta testers for you? And we'll send you a pack of all 3 varieties of the shampoo bar so that you guys can try it. And we would love to have some feedback. that's what we're doing.
Oh, oh yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I can't tell you how many people have asked me to make a shampoo bar.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't have the expertise. I'm not gonna do it. But the demand is really out there. People want one.
Yeah, we're really
So
excited about it.
I
And
see
we,
the collaboration. So,
yeah,
also, Bruno, we have on this program promised that for our 150th anniversary of our store in 5 years, we are going to unveil finally a scent for the apothecary that reminds us of the scent in the store. And so
oh
we'll
yeah.
at the very least need some consultation help on that.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, would love to.
yeah.
I
If you
love
could,
the smell of that your store.
does
That
August
is
3 years from now work for you? Do you know? Is that open on your calendar to like talk about it?
let
So.
me look at it. Yeah.
Tomorrow works right now.
Yeah,
Jeez.
I'm gonna send you. So these are actually, I've been sending these to my best customers and people who I want their feed. But after this, I'll get the right address for you guys, and I would
Cool.
love feedback on
Yeah, I'm
all
so excited to
aspects.
try it because I think what you said, I always tell that to people when they're like, does this come in a soap or a body lotion, this fragrance? I'm like, hey, you know what? I get it. So if you want to do that, there are things that do it. I'm not holding it against anybody, but like soap is its own joy. Soap is such a joy. And to
Yeah,
me, I always tell people my only downside of these big bars is like, hey, dude, make them half the size because I want to use it up so I can get the joy of picking out a new soap sooner. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's the only bad part about a big bar of soap to me.
Well, I'm gonna have two sizes. There'll be the
Cool.
big shower size, and then there's gonna be a smaller hand soap size.
Nice.
So
Yeah. But
I
then,
got you covered.
I
yeah,
love
good.
how this is evolving on me for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. So, we are talking about the soap. So those are coming out, which is awesome. And I would love, we'll test it and certainly we'll help promote it for you. Even if you just do it on your own, we'll have you back on to talk about it because honestly, I feel like we're going to run up against time here and I could talk to you. I have like so many questions. I could talk to you for another hour easily. So I'm hoping by embarrassing you into saying yes, you'll come back on
Oh,
while
absolutely.
we're
No,
on
I'm having a
live,
great time.
that we've got you. So, yeah, Jay.
Yeah, I think we should call it there. This has been awesome, Bruno. It's so nice talking with you, and thank you for all the knowledge and just like it's great to speak to someone whose life is all art. That is so cool, and I love that you approach everything you do as art. It's a really
Yeah.
inspiring. So,
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
I have a couple quick things on the way out. First of all, if people want to, obviously we sell your perfumes, we sell them, so we'll link them. But like, if people want to know more about what you're doing, your art, hear the latest from you. Is it a particular site, or do you have a different one for your art versus your perfume?
Uh,
How should they reach out to you?
Instagram is great because I try to keep things current there. My website, I will be actually offering more visual art through my website. I'm going to be putting prints on there
oh,
in the
cool.
fall. And then I already have like cards, and I'm trying to integrate more of it. I have a separate visual art site, but it hasn't been updated in a long while. You can find a link for it on my website.
Cool.
But obviously, Small Flower and Merz you guys have all my scents. That's a great place to start.
I have a question for myself and potentially anyone else out there who dabbles with fragrance and oils as well and is making their own stuff. It can feel a little daunting, you know. What is there any advice that you have that to help someone who's feeling a little overwhelmed by like, well, I got all these fragrances and I don't know, just start mixing? Is it that
Materials, yeah.
or
Um,
study? Is there a study before or do you just jump in?
well, I think that's a longer.
I was
If
actually
I
going
were
to say,
smart, I'd write a little book. There's
this is what I
there's
want
a
to have the whole second conversation on, by the way.
Yeah, but just a quick
Yeah.
tease for that.
the the most crucial thing that a perfumer does is get to know their materials. So a lot of study is actually just smelling and really getting to know how it smells out of the bottle and how it smells after it's been on the strip for 2 minutes and 5 minutes, 10 and 40, and learning the evolution of the scent. And one of the most important parts is not learning top, middle, and base, but learning the development, but also learning the families and how fragrant materials are similar and different, why they're similar. Like vanilla absolute, like the vanilla botanical material is smells sort of smoky and earthy. It doesn't smell like an ice cream cone. It has this complex, you can describe it as smelling sort of smoky, and you can describe it as smelling a little bit like dessert. And so like same thing with flower smells or with herbal smell. Like there are all these overtones, and getting to know the complexity of those overtones, that's how you build a fragrance. So
So you
it's
can
sort of about
emphasize
bringing
certain
things
parts
together
of
and
that?
pulling things apart. What's that?
Yeah.
I was saying just so that you could like emphasize certain parts of that if you wanted. So like you could build a vanilla one that's smoky and whatever by what else you put in with it to help bring that to the fore. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, you want to really study your materials to start, but I would also say, I mean, so tell me give me a specific
No,
problem.
I guess just like, play is your answer. Play with them
Yeah.
and get to know them. But
Well, one way is it is very methodical. So, one of the classic ways is to do the Jean Carl's technique, which you have, how does it work? 4 and 4. I need a little diagram, but you do 4 mixes, and let's say your dominating material is going to be orange essential oil, and then your supporting player is going to be lavender. So you decide that it's going to dominate with orange, and then you do 9 to 4, 8 to if I write it down as a diagram, it goes,
you do different ratios, yeah, essentially.
but you methodically do a set of 5, maybe it's 5 ratios, where it goes 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and then down here it's going 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the middle, they both meet at 5 and 5. You have equal, and
Yeah.
then then you try to find the accord within that. So one of those is going to smell like a perfect mix of the two, neither one nor the other.
That's cool.
So
That's awesome.
finding that sweet spot,
Yeah.
that's a methodical way to find that sweet spot, and that's an accord. Suddenly, it's not orange or lavender; it's orange and lavender perfectly balanced.
I'm so glad you got to that because I learned to play piano as a kid and I don't really play anymore. But that's what I kept trying to think of is like, all right, you have all these keys. And like if I sat down at your lab and not knowing anything, like there are many ways to touch the keys of a piano that are not chords, right? Majority of the ways. And so like, how does someone starting out get to play basic chords? And you just gave us literally like a sort of simple recipe.
It's slow. It's hard. It's slow.
Yeah, and I would imagine just like in music, there's like later, the simple chords bore you, and so you do inversions, and you want to
Right.
hear ninths and sevenths, and that's going to interest you and intrigue you, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that.
This is getting super nerdy. I like the note we're finishing on. This is awesome.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Bruno
Bruno,
Fazzolari, thank you.
we're gonna send you some shampoo bars. Stick around for a second so I can get your address. And everyone
please.
else, we'll see you
Well,
Monday.
If you check out Fazzolari, let's do it.
Yeah. Stravitz. All right.